The topic of confidence. It is a good one for all of us because confidence is a required ingredient for everything that we are hoping for in the pursuit of the life we're trying to create inside of this year or any year. And also, change challenges confidence. It's going to come with these questions of what might happen in these new unknowns. It's going to trigger our anxiety, our worry of what if, our worry of how long. It requires better question asking around what can happen, right? What kind of preparation is required to be ready, fortifying our confidence with the kind of planning that will have us preempt the thing that might get in our way long before it does. So I want to try and walk you through a little framework around what might happen, what can happen, and what will happen. I want you to take the time and write a letter to your fear. What are the things that you fear in this journey of growth that you've chosen? What are you worried about in relationship, in finance, around your health? What are the things that are triggered insecurity-wise, imposter syndrome, whatever it might be? I made a list of my fears, and then I asked these two questions. Which of these fears are actually real? And which of these fears can a plan be created for to address the warranted fear? The interesting thing in going line by line through my 46 things is that many of the things I thought were, of course, yes, totally ridiculous. 80% of them gone. But the other 20%, they were warranted fears, right? Those fears were real. And I believe that the role that those fears were playing was a prompt to ask questions on how I could best prepare to do it scared, but ready. The ability to formulate the kind of habits and routines, the circle of support, the resources I'd need to ready myself to, yes, confront my fear. The fear was not going to go away, but to do it in a way that changed completely the way I felt courageous and up to the challenge. Let's dive into what might happen. Epictetus said, man is not worried about real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about the real problem, right? It's an idea that was reinforced by Seneca. We suffer more from imagination than reality. I want you to grab a blank piece of paper. I want you to draw 3 circles on the blank piece of paper. This represents the things that we worry about, the things that can happen, and the things that do. I have filled it out for you so that you can fill it out yourself. The whole pie is the way that our brain processes every single thing that could possibly happen on this journey of becoming. The smaller circle is the list of things that actually can happen, because our mind is so crazy, it will have us worrying about things that could never happen. But that smallest dot, those are the things that actually do happen. And when you can see it against the backdrop of how much we afford, the weight of worrying about everything with how much actually happens, it just affords you a confidence to dismiss a little bit of the rhetoric that voice in your head is trying to sell you about why you should be worried in the first place. Now, that in and of itself, that's not going to make your anxiety go away like magic. There is a next step. And I don't know what role anxiety plays for you, but I will tell you, for me, anxiety is providing me information. It's intel, right? It's a trail of breadcrumbs in my life to a place where I do not yet have clarity, where I don't yet have a solidified plan. And in the ambiguity that exists in not yet having a plan, I am afforded an opportunity, because of the message relayed by anxiety, to dive into and consider how I might become just a little bit more prepared for this piece in my life. It has fundamentally changed the way I think about anxiety. Thank you, anxiety. I hate that I've become grateful for you, anxiety, but in fact, when it presents itself, it's just trying to help me create clarity in a part of my life where there is ambiguity. All right, I want you to take a new piece of paper. I want you to write down, like I have written down here, what might happen and what can happen. The homework for you is to take the letter that you've written to your fear. And on the left side, right, what might happen, write any of the things that might happen and put them on that left-hand side of the page. On the right-hand side, the things that can happen, write those down and put them on the right-hand side of the page. Once you have every fear that you attribute to what might happen, I want you to ask yourself the same question that I did. Is this fear real? Is it actually something that can happen? Is it actually something that is highly likely to happen? And if the answer is no, can you have a conversation with that fear and release it? Can you connect to confidence in a way that might allow you to cross it off the list? If you need to, could you write that fear on a piece of paper, crumple it up in a ball, and symbolically, as you let it go into a trash can, release it from the weight that you would have to carry in keeping it a part of you in the journey from where you are to where we're going, right? The next step, right, for any of the fears that still exist after you've tried to release the ones that are not real, is how do you take the limiting belief that you currently have about your ability to handle this fear, this thing that might happen, and turn your limiting belief into an empowering belief around why you are completely qualified to handle it. So I'll give you an example from my list. On my what might happen list, I couldn't let go of my anxiety around what if I put myself out there and fail, right? I'd had a very successful job inside the Walt Disney Company for 17 years, the last 7, where I'm the president of distribution, surrounded by the greatest intellectual property, the best teams. I was always an accomplice to success, not solely responsible for it. In the work that I did in the Hollis Company, working with my partner and wife, Rachel, building something that was built around, again, great intellectual property, it was not all on me. And here I am leaving a harbor that was previously safe for a harbor where I know I will grow, and it all falls on me. What if I put myself out there and I fail? So I ran through an exercise that I call positive, negative, reframed, okay? When you take the things that might happen and you're able to create 3 columns of the positive outcomes, the negative outcomes, and the reframed outcomes of what might happen if these things were to pass, then you get a chance to actually see all the scenarios that could unfold, right? For me, I might be seen as underqualified to do this work. I might embarrass myself publicly. I might be triggered to reach for negative coping mechanisms when I feel badly about it, right? Those were my limiting beliefs. And in establishing those limiting beliefs up front, as I went through the positive, negative, and reframed outcomes, I made a list of every single thing that could happen if I put myself out there and failed, right? All the good things that could happen, hey, I'd learn. All the negative things that would happen, I might be embarrassed. And anytime I wrote something that was negative, I was then challenging myself to ask, but is there good that could come from this negative scenario that I'm believing in? Is there a way for me to see that negative as happening for me instead of to me? And once I went through the positive, negative, and reframed outcomes, I was able to go back to my limiting beliefs. And I was able to challenge each of them in a way that made them empowering, in a way that fortified me with the confidence to believe that I am perfectly qualified. And so my limiting beliefs became, I'm already qualified to do this work because of the experiences that I've had and the willingness to be vulnerable and share this journey with others. I changed it to, the only way that I'll acquire skills necessary for the audacity of my life is if I can envision the embracing of failure as the vehicle that's going to help me grow. I reminded myself that I've already made it through 100% of my failures. And I've done so in a way that has every single time left me stronger, having learned more and growing because of them. Okay, so that's the work for you. I want you to take your fears, create this exhaustive list of every single thing that can happen, positive, negative, and then reframe anything that's negative. And do some work on the limiting beliefs that you have going into the exercise and how knowing now that you can turn any of the negative scenarios into something positive that it might afford you this permission to have an empowering belief on why you are perfectly qualified for this life you are hoping to live.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.